The flashing lights of the ambulance cut through the Chicago night like knives, and I could barely breathe as the paramedics loaded Lexi onto the stretcher. Her hand gripped mine tightly, even as blood trickled from her forehead, and in that moment of chaos, she whispered the words that had been building for months. "Kenzie, I love you, I can't hide it anymore." But as the news crews swarmed the scene, snapping photos of our intertwined fingers, I knew our secret was out, and the real battle for our lives had just begun. Sirens wailed louder as the EMTs slammed the doors and we sped toward Northwestern Memorial. My head throbbed from the impact, but it was nothing compared to the panic clawing at my chest. 6 months ago, Lexi had still been the roommate who dated finance guys and laughed off any rumor about us. "I'm straight, Kenzie, relax," she used to say with that easy smile while we split rent on our tiny Lincoln Park apartment. Then came the night after her firm's holiday party. We had both had too much wine, the city lights glittering outside our window, and she pulled me close on the couch. "I've wanted this for so long," she whispered before her lips met mine. That kiss shattered every boundary we pretended existed. From then on we were careful, stolen mornings, locked doors, whispers after midnight, but we were happy. Until tonight. The other driver had run a red light, or maybe we had. The details blurred in the scream of metal. All I remembered was Lexi glancing at me instead of the road while we argued about finally telling her parents. The crash happened so fast. Now here we were, her wrist in a brace, my shoulder screaming, and the world already buzzing outside the ER doors. A nurse rushed us into a curtained bay. "Any allergies?" she asked, but her eyes kept flicking to the growing crowd of reporters visible through the glass. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Work, friends, unknown numbers. I silenced it and focused on Lexi's pale face. "Kenzie, I'm scared," she said, voice cracking for the first time since the ambulance. Her green eyes, usually so confident in the courtroom, looked lost. I squeezed her good hand, ignoring the pain shooting through my own ribs. "We'll figure it out. We always do." But even as I said it, I heard the click of cameras outside and knew the lie was already crumbling. The nurse drew the curtain tighter, yet the noise of shouted questions leaked through. "Is it true? Are you two together?" Lexi closed her eyes, tears slipping free. In that second I realized the accident wasn't the end. It was only the match that lit the fuse on everything we had built in secret. Hours dragged in the sterile glow of monitors. Doctors confirmed mild concussions, bruised ribs, and a sprained wrist for Lexi. Nothing life-threatening, but the real injury was waiting outside. My boss at the PR firm texted, "Call me ASAP. Media is calling about you and Lexi." Lexi's phone lit up with her mother's name. She stared at it like it might explode. "I can't talk to her yet," she whispered. I nodded, but inside I was calculating escape routes that didn't exist. We had always known coming out could cost us, my conservative clients, her partnership track at the most buttoned-up law firm in the Midwest. But we never imagined it happening like this, broadcast live on every local station. A hospital administrator finally appeared, clipboard in hand. "Miss Harper, Ms. Reed, there's a crowd outside. We can arrange a back exit, but the police need statements first." Lexi looked at me, fear and determination warring on her face. That was the moment I understood. Every decision from here would be life or death for our reputations, our jobs, our future. And the first one was already here. Tell the truth to the cops or start the lies that might save us both. The officer was kind but thorough. Body cam rolling, he asked what happened. Lexi hesitated, then said quietly, "We were arguing. I got distracted." He raised an eyebrow. "Arguing about what?" The room went still. I felt the weight of 6 months of secrecy pressing down. Lexi's fingers found mine again under the blanket. "About us," she said. The words hung there, raw and irreversible. The officer nodded once, wrote it down, and I knew the file would reach the media by morning. Outside, the reporters multiplied. One bold photographer even climbed a bench to shoot through the window. Lexi turned away, but I caught the flash of shame in her eyes, the same shame she swore she'd never feel. By the time they discharged us at 4 a.m., the story was already trending locally. Prominent attorney and PR exec in crash, romantic link suspected. My stomach twisted as I read the headline on my phone while we waited for the Uber. Lexi leaned against me in the cold night air, her head on my shoulder. "I meant what I said in the ambulance, Kenzie. No more hiding. Her voice was steady now, but I heard the tremor underneath. I kissed her temple, tasting salt and fear. Then we face it together. The Uber pulled up, and as we climbed in, I caught the driver's double-take in the rearview. The world had already decided who we were. The only question left was whether we could survive what came next. The apartment felt smaller when we finally stumbled through the door at dawn, bruises blooming purple across both our bodies. Lexi dropped her keys on the counter and immediately reached for the remote, flipping to the local news. There we were. Grainy footage of us holding hands in the ambulance bay, my arm around her waist as paramedics worked. The anchor's voice was clinical. Sources close to the firm confirm Lexi Reed, rising star at Harlan and Locke, may have been involved in a personal relationship with roommate Kinsey Harper at the time of the crash. Lexi muted the TV and sank onto the couch, head in her hands. My mother has called 12 times. I sat beside her, every movement sending fresh pain through my ribs. We don't have to answer anyone yet. Let's just breathe. But breathing felt impossible with the notifications exploding on both our phones. My boss left a voicemail that sounded more like a threat. The clients are nervous, Kinsey. This is not the image we sell. Lexi's phone rang again. Her father this time. She stared at the screen until it went to voicemail, then played the message on speaker. Alexandra, what the hell is going on? Your mother is in tears. Call us now. The silence after was heavier than any crash. We had been roommates for 2 years before anything changed. Lexi was the one who always brought home successful men in tailored suits, laughing about her type. I was the safe best friend who listened to every breakup story, and never once admitted the way my stomach flipped when she walked around in my old college sweatshirts. That night 6 months ago changed the rules. After the kiss, we promised to keep it quiet. No public dates, no social media slips, no risks at work. We built a tiny world inside these walls. Late night talks, shared playlists, the way she traced circles on my palm when we watched movies. Felt safe until the argument in the car. I wanted to tell her family before someone else did. She wanted more time. The distraction cost us everything. A knock at the door made us both jump. Through the peephole I saw Lexi's younger brother, Tyler, looking furious. I opened it before she could stop me. He pushed past, eyes darting between us. Mom sent me. She saw the news. Is it true? Lexi stood slowly, wincing. Ty, sit down. He didn't. You're throwing away your career for this? Dad's on the phone with the partners right now trying to contain it. Lexi's face hardened, the courtroom mask sliding into place. This isn't a phase, Tyler. I love her. The word hung between us like a live wire. Tyler looked at me with something close to disgust. You did this to her. He left without another word, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Lexi collapsed back onto the couch, tears she had held back all night finally falling. I pulled her into my arms, careful of her wrist. He'll come around. But even I didn't believe it. Her family was old Chicago money, church every Sunday, the kind of people who still sent Christmas cards with Bible verses. My own parents in California were more liberal, but I hadn't told them either, mostly because I knew the second I did they would worry about my job, my safety, my future. Now the choice was gone. By noon the building manager had called twice about unwanted visitors in the lobby, reporters offering cash for photos of our apartment door. We drew the blinds and ordered food we couldn't eat. Lexi's firm emailed an official request for a meeting to discuss the impact on firm reputation. My boss scheduled a 3 p.m. video call. The pressure was already crushing us, and it had only been 12 hours. Lexi looked at me across the kitchen island, eyes red but steady. If I lose the partnership, I lose everything I've worked for. But if I lose you, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. We both knew the next 24 hours would force us to choose which future we were willing to burn. The video call with my boss was brutal. Kinsey, the clients are pulling contracts. They don't want the association with this kind of publicity. He wouldn't even say the word lesbian. I kept my voice professional even though my hands shook off camera. It's my personal life. He laughed once, sharp. Not anymore. Take 2 weeks. We'll see where we are. The screen went black. Lexi was waiting in the hallway, her own phone still glowing with missed calls from the senior partners at Harlan and Locke. They want me in tomorrow. They're talking moral clause. Her voice cracked on the last word. We stood there in the dim apartment, two women who had fallen in love in secret now facing the very public destruction of the lives we had built apart. The night whisper that started it all felt like a lifetime ago. Now every second was a new test and we were already running out of answers. Morning light sliced through the blinds like accusations. Lexi stood in front of the mirror in her black suit, wrist still braced, practicing the neutral expression she would need in the partner's conference room. "I can fix this," she muttered to her reflection. I watched from the doorway, coffee untouched in my hands. "You don't have to face them alone." She met my eyes in the glass. "If you come with me, it makes it worse. They'll see it as proof." The word stung, but she was right. We had spent the night drafting statements, hers denying romantic involvement, mine staying vague. Both felt like betrayal. The Uber dropped her at the sleek glass tower downtown while I paced our apartment, refreshing news alerts every 30 seconds. The headlines had escalated. Attorney Reed's lesbian affair blamed for multi-car pileup. Someone had leaked the police report. My phone rang, my mother from California. "Kinsey, honey, are you okay?" "The pictures." I lied and said it was exaggerated, but the tremble in my voice gave me away. She sighed the sigh I had dreaded since college. "We love you. Just be careful. Jobs like yours don't come back." When I hung up, the silence pressed in. I opened my laptop to draft damage control emails to my remaining clients, but every sentence sounded like an apology for loving someone. Lexi's meeting ran 3 hours. When she finally called, her voice was flat. "They're placing me on administrative leave pending investigation. Moral turpitude close." They said the optics are untenable for a family law specialist. I could hear the tears she was swallowing. I told them the truth, Kenzie. I said I love you and I'm not ashamed. Pride swelled in my chest even as terror gripped my stomach. That confession had just cost her the partnership she had sacrificed everything for. Late nights, weekends, holidays. "I'm coming home," she said. I started cleaning the apartment like it could scrub away the mess outside. By the time she walked through the door, the building was surrounded. Neighbors we had waved to for years now stared from their windows. One older woman actually crossed herself when Lexi passed. Inside, Lexi kicked off her heels and sank onto the couch, suit jacket still buttoned like armor. They offered me a quiet resignation package if I sign an NDA and never speak about the firm again. She laughed bitterly. 6 years of 80-hour weeks for a severance check and a gag order. I sat beside her, pulling her close. Her body trembled with the effort of holding it together. I said no. I told them I'd fight it. The words should have felt victorious, but they landed like another crash. My own email inbox had exploded. 3 clients formally terminated contracts, citing reputational risk. One message was from a women's shelter I had volunteered PR for. They loved my work but couldn't risk the association in their conservative donor base. The rejections piled up like bricks on my chest. We ordered Thai food and ate it cold, scrolling through the comments on the local news site. Disgusting. She should be disbarred. Think of the children in her cases. Lexi read them aloud until her voice broke. They don't even know us. I closed the laptop. They don't have to. They've already decided. That night we lay in bed without touching, both staring at the ceiling. Lexi's phone buzzed, her mother again. This time she answered on speaker. "Alexandra, your father and I are coming tomorrow. We need to talk about getting you help." Lexi's laugh was hollow. "Help? Mom, I'm not sick." The line went quiet, then her mother's voice dropped to a whisper. "The church has counselors. We can fix this before it ruins your life." Lexi hung up without another word. In the dark she finally turned to me, eyes shining. "I'm losing everything, Kenzie. But I'm not losing you." Her hand found mine under the sheets, and for the first time since the crash I believed we might actually survive this if we could just keep choosing each other. The lawsuit papers arrived by courier at 8 a.m., thick and official. The other driver, a man named Robert Klein, was suing both of us for medical bills, lost wages, and emotional distress caused by reckless behavior. His attorney had already given interviews claiming the crash was the direct result of our distracted lesbian tryst. Lexi read the complaint at the kitchen table, face pale. "They're using us as a punchline in discovery motions." I poured more coffee, hands shaking. "We get a lawyer. Today." She nodded, but we both knew any lawyer would cost money we might soon not have. By noon we were in the office of Elena Vargas, a sharp civil litigator recommended by a friend who owed me a favor. She listened without judgment, took notes, then leaned back. The moral clause in Lexi's contract is shaky, but the lawsuit is the bigger immediate threat. If they paint you as reckless lovers, insurance might deny coverage, and you'll both be personally liable. Lexi's jaw tightened. So we fight the narrative.
Elena smiled dimly.
Fighting means going public, press conference, interviews, the works. Are you ready for that? The question hung between us. I looked at Lexi. 6 months of hiding had kept us safe. Now safety was gone. That afternoon we drafted the statement together. Lexi wanted to lead with love. I wanted to focus on the facts of the crash. We compromised on honesty without apology. We are in a loving relationship. The accident was just that. An accident. Elena read it and nodded. Release it tomorrow. But warn your families. The warning came too late. Lexi's parents arrived at our door at 6 p.m. Her father in a suit that screamed old money. Her mother clutching a Bible. They refused to sit. This isn't you, Lexi, her father said, voice low. You're confused. That woman, he pointed at me, has brainwashed you. Lexi stepped in front of me. Her name is Kinsey and I love her. If you can't accept that, you should leave. The silence was deafening. Her mother started crying. We raised you better. They left without hugs, the door closing like a period at the end of a chapter. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. the next day outside the courthouse. We rehearsed answers until our voices were hoarse. That night we held each other in the dark, the city humming outside. Whatever happens tomorrow, Lexi whispered, I choose you. I kissed her softly, tasting the salt of unshed tears. I choose you too. But as sleep finally came, I wondered if love would be enough when the world demanded we choose everything else first. Morning arrived with a storm of cameras. We stood on the courthouse steps, Lexi in a navy dress, wrist brace hidden under a sleeve, me in the black blazer I wore to every important meeting. Elena stood beside us. Lexi spoke first, voice steady despite the microphones thrust forward. 6 months ago I fell in love with my best friend. Last week that love was used to blame us for an accident neither of us caused. We are not reckless. We are human. The questions came like bullets. Will you resign from the firm? Are you getting conversion therapy? How do you sleep at night knowing you destroyed 2 families? I stepped up when Lexi faltered. We sleep knowing we're finally telling the truth. The flashes blinded us, but for the first time since the crash I felt light, exposed, yes, but no longer hiding. The statement hit every major outlet by lunch. My remaining clients dropped me within the hour. Lexi's firm issued a terse no comment. But something shifted online too. Supportive messages from strangers, rainbow emojis, women sharing their own stories. For every hateful comment there was one that said, "You're brave." Lexi read them in bed that night, head on my chest. Maybe we're not alone. I stroked her hair, but the knot in my stomach remained. The lawsuit was still coming. The families were still silent. And the biggest test, whether we could keep choosing each other when the bills came due, was only beginning. Discovery documents arrived in boxes that filled our living room. Robert Klein's lawyers wanted every text, every photo, every receipt from the last 6 months. They're looking for proof we were fighting because we're gay, Lexi said, sorting through old messages on her laptop. I watched her highlight the night we first kissed, the argument in the car, the whispered, "I love you," in the ambulance. Each line felt like stripping another layer of skin. Elena warned us the other side would try to depose us separately, hoping one would crack. Stay consistent. Stay human. The depositions were scheduled for the same week my bank account hit its lowest point. Unemployment checks started, but they barely covered rent. Lexi's severance offer was still on the table, but accepting it meant signing away her right to sue the firm for discrimination. We argued about it for hours one night, voices rising for the first time since the crash. "Take the money," I said. "We need it." She slammed the folder shut. "If I take it, I'm letting them win. I'm letting them say our love is shameful." The fight ended with both of us crying on the kitchen floor, realizing we were no longer just protecting each other. We were protecting versions of ourselves we weren't sure still existed. Lexi's parents called again, this time offering to pay for counseling if she came home alone. She hung up mid-sentence and looked at me with fire in her eyes. I'm done waiting for their approval. That same afternoon she filed a discrimination complaint with the EOC against Harlan and Locke. The media loved it. Headlines flipped from scandal to attorney fights back. But the lawsuit against us kept moving forward. Klein's team leaked old photos of us at a company picnic. Innocent then, damning now. The judge denied our motion to dismiss, citing questions of fact regarding distraction. We were going to trial. The night before the final pre-trial conference, Lexi couldn't sleep. She paced the apartment in the dark, barefoot, whispering arguments to herself. I caught her in the kitchen, staring at the city lights. What if we lose everything? She asked. I pulled her close, feeling the steady beat of her heart against mine. Then we start over. Together. No more secrets, no more fear. She kissed me then, slow, certain, the same kiss that started it all 6 months ago. In that moment the noise of the world faded. We had already survived the crash, the firings, the family rejection. The only thing left to survive was the truth. The pre-trial hearing was brutal. Klein's lawyer painted us as careless lovers more interested in each other than the road. Elena countered with medical records proving the other driver was speeding. The judge looked tired. Settlement talks tomorrow. Both sides have too much to lose. We left the courthouse hand in hand, cameras flashing. That night we sat on the roof of our building, against building rules, but we no longer cared, watching the lights of Chicago stretch forever. Lexi leaned her head on my shoulder. Whatever happens in that room tomorrow, I'm not going back into the closet. Not for any job, not for any family. I kissed her temple. Neither am I. The decision was made. Now we just had to live with the cost. The settlement conference room smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Klein sat across the table, arms still in a sling, his lawyer whispering furiously. Elena slid the final offer across. We would pay his medical bills and a modest pain and suffering amount. In return he would drop all claims of reckless behavior tied to our relationship. Lexi looked at me. I nodded once. She signed first, then me. The room exhaled. Outside the media waited, but for the first time the questions felt survivable. We walked out into the spring sunlight holding hands openly. My new freelance clients, small queer-owned businesses who had reached out after the press conference, were already emailing contracts. Lexi had interviews lined up at progressive firms that valued her courage. Her parents had sent a short text. We're praying for you both. It wasn't acceptance, but it was a crack in the wall. Tyler had even liked one of Lexi's Instagram posts, the first contact in weeks. That evening we stood on the same rooftop where we had made our promise. The city hummed below, alive and indifferent. Lexi turned to me, the wind catching her hair. We almost lost everything. I pulled her close, the brace finally gone from her wrist. But we didn't lose each other. We kissed under the open sky, no longer hiding, no longer whispering. The crash had taken our secrets and given us something stronger. A future we chose every single day. 6 months later we still live in the same apartment, but the walls feel bigger now. The lawsuit is a story we tell to remind ourselves how far we came. My PR business is thriving with clients who want authenticity. Lexi made partner at a firm that celebrates who she loves. Our families are slowly warming. Awkward dinners, cautious questions, but the love between us is no longer negotiable. Looking back at that night in the ambulance, the whisper that started it all feels like destiny wearing a seatbelt. We paid the price, jobs, relationships, peace, but we gained something priceless. The courage to live out loud. So here is my question for anyone listening. Is the cost of living your truth always worth the wreckage it leaves behind? Or are some secrets better left in the dark?